Hey, we're back. Thank you so much for joining us. Chris is here, the claims manager. He's in the library or his dining room. I don't know exactly where he's at. Chris, where are you today? And what
Yeah,
are we talking about? It's super
I'm
important.
actually I'm actually in the kitchen to be honest with you. I was
Oh,
gonna make
perfect.
beef stew in the
I
background,
was
but
gonna say, you
anyways,
making a delicious soup or what?
yeah. Anyways, this is a great topic. First off, again, guys, we love discussing all this material, this education.
Definitely.
We want the world just to spread the word, if you will, so that way we can get more claims paid. And this is something that happens that we've been seeing a lot, in most recently. Basically, if you're replacing a roof, let's say it goes all the way down to the decking and the sheathing, which is the very, very, bottom layer of
Yeah,
the roof.
like plywood, for lack of a better term.
Correct. Now, if for some reason you can't put a new roof on that, let's say plywood, because for some reason it's not nailable, there's
Yeah,
also code requirements that could
right.
be involved,
So,
space gapping. Go ahead,
yeah,
Taylor.
so a lot of times there's a certain amount of space between the decking that is allowed. And if
Mm-hmm.
it exceeds that spaced decking, then it must be brought up to code because it is not nailable, meaning you have that big of a gap between the sheathing, between the spaced
Mm-hmm.
decking, and you nail into that gap, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
That is not now meeting the wind requirement code of the municipality because the nail didn't actually go into the wood, it went into that space. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's like I think 1/8 or maybe 1/4 is now the maximum space between the decking
Mm-hmm.
that's allowed. And a lot of insurance companies will tell us, well, we don't know for that. Do
Yeah,
they?
it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, we don't know for that because that wasn't affected by the hail loss. Well,
Right.
guess what? The but-for doctrine. Taylor, you want to explain that?
Yeah, but for this loss, meaning if it wasn't for this loss, none of this would have to be done. And you,
Mm-hmm.
insurance company, cover this loss, and there's ordinance and law coverage, and this is required by the city or municipality or the jurisdiction to be brought up to code. So it meets the requirements for all sorts of stuff. If it's insulation, if it's the decking, whatever it might be,
Mm-hmm.
none of this would be required unless it was for this loss that is covered. So tell me
Mm-hmm.
how you, insurance company, are going to indemnify. Indemnification is one of the two tenets of insurance. Be as good or better than before the loss.
Mm-hmm.
Indemnification, depending on what your policy says, they must be brought to better, as good or better than before the loss.
Mm-hmm.
And if this is a
Absolutely.
requirement that the city or the jurisdiction requires, then are they as good or better than before the loss? Right? Then that's the question. Insurance companies owe to bring you back to pre-loss condition, and if you have the right coverage, meet the requirements of the current code of the jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. Well, we don't know for it. Why? Well, because it wasn't affected by the storm. I'm not saying it was. What I'm saying is you have the coverage here, and but for this loss, if it wasn't for this loss, none of this would be required. So therefore, you, insurance company, are required to pay to bring them back to pre-loss
Pre-law.
condition or
Yep.
better, depending on the policy.
Absolutely. So if you're running these issues, we always recommend getting us involved in the very beginning. That way you
Very
don't have to
beginning.
deal with these issues.
Yeah.
But you run into it, contact us today, bellatorclaims.com. Again, we want to spread this word to a million people, and that's going to take your help. So we would definitely love for you to like, subscribe, also put in the comments of anything else you want us to discuss. Bring up different
That's right.
ideas. We'd love to be happy to answer any itchy situations you guys are dealing with, and then share this with the world.
Share it with the world, please. Thank you so much. We're trying to get this to 1 million insureds, contractors, property managers, so we can empower them to empower themselves to empower the claim to get the claim paid for. All right. Thank you guys. We'll see you next time.